Hello dear students, welcome to first PUC English class. Hope you are able to grasp or catch what we are teaching. You may find it difficult in the initial stage, but definitely with the passage of time, you'll understand what we are teaching. And if you have a textbook, please go through it again and again soon after you watch our classes. So today I'm going to discuss the fourth chapter, that is Oru Manushyan, which has been written by Vaikom Muhammad Bashir. So Vaikom Muhammad Bashir, he is an Indian writer, a short story writer and also a novelist. So his story that stresses on human values and morality. And then we have to think about human values and morality, and before getting into the textbook or before getting into the story, I have a few questions to ask and you have to answer that. Of course, you cannot answer me directly, but think about those questions. The first question, what is humanity? Or how do you define humanity? We are all humans, but the question is, do we all have human nature or quality? Or have you ever felt that a society is losing morality or ethics or moral values? Are we losing the nature of helping one another? That is the main thing, right? So we should all be, along with, we are called as human beings, at the same time we should also have some attributes, humane qualities. We should help one another. But somewhere today, we don't such kind of, nature among people. That is decreasing, that is crumbling down, that is breaking down in our society. So this story that highlights, or Bashir's story that highlights on human values, morality, or how this moral values, morality and ethics, that those things are, or those qualities are, crumbling down in our society. So at the same time, he asks us to think about, as I said, human nature and who are human beings. So how do you define good and bad people then? Sometimes we give a few people or some people label, they are good and they are bad. So how do we come to know about that? Because understanding a man or understanding a person or understanding a human, that is very difficult, right? Man is of a complicated nature. It is not that easy to understand people. So how do we come to know that they are good and they are bad? How do you differentiate, or how do you, divide people into good and bad? So according to this story, somewhere after reading you'll realize that we come to know about that through some situations. Certain situations, certain circumstances that teaches us who are good and who are bad. Because suddenly the conclusion that they are good and they are bad just looking at them. Because appearance is always deceptive. What do you mean by deceptive? Deceptive is misleading. You cannot, there is a saying, right? You cannot judge a book by its cover. In the same way, only situations, some incidents that can teach us who are good and who are bad. So here the narrator is also expressing the same idea. So as I said, this somewhere this also tells us that there is a need to develop helping nature and compassion. There is a great saying which is stated by Dalai Lama, that compassion and love, that is not, we need to develop and love, not for luxuries but for necessities. This is necessity. A person must have compassion and love in his life. Because without these things, that is compassion and love, there is no meaning for humanity, or humanity cannot survive or cannot exist on this earth without compassion and love. So these are the qualities of humanity, right? So you might have seen in society some incidents take place. How many people go forward to help some people who are caught in dangerous situation? Because we are all highly we get entertained by those incidents. We take out our mobile phone and then we shoot it and then we start uploading it. So that is the social service nowadays people are doing. But that is not the humanity. When we know that something bad is happening, something wrong is happening, then we should gather, or we have to muster the courage to stop that injustice, or at least we should help that person to come out of that dangerous situation. We have to rescue him or we have to save them. So that is a gesture of humanity. That is what we call humanity. Not just, showing off that you have money or you are well educated. That doesn't define you as a human being. But our nature, but the deeds that we do, that define who we are. So now, I hope you understood the theme or the background of this story. As I said, this throws light on human nature and humanity alone. So now, let's get into this. As I said, this is a first person narration. So what do you mean by first person narration? So here, the speaker himself, the narrator himself is the speaker here. So he is going to narrate the story. So that is why this is a first person narration. And here, he is talking or narrating about a big city. Big city that he had visited or that he had resided in a few years back. And he had gone through a bitter experience there. He had a bitter experience there in that big city. And that is why he talks about humanity. Something might have happened in his life and that incident taught him who are the real human beings, and that is why he penned down that bitter experience. So he teaches us through this lesson or through this story that one must develop helping nature or morality or human beings. So he is going to narrate his own bitter experience that he experienced in the big city. And further, in the very beginning stage, he asks you to, in the very first page itself, he asks you to imagine a few things. So he went to a far place just to find a job, in quest of a job for his livelihood. Because those days he had to work hard, survival was not so easy for him. So to earn money, he had to go off, or he had to go to a far place, and that is to the big city to find a job or for the purpose of his profession or job. So what happened there? So what happened there, that is expressed through this story. He explains that through this story. So finally he says, when he went there in the beginning, in the initial stage, when he went there, he did not have an exact plan. As I said, he might have responsibilities of his family, and that is why he had to go far places to find job and to earn money. He was in a miserable condition. Maybe he was not financially strong. Definitely he was not strong financially, and that is why he had to go somewhere else away from his hometown. So he went there, and that place was completely an unknown world for him. So it was completely an unknown world for him. He did not have any relatives there. He did not have any friends there. He did not even have enough money in his hand. Still he went there. So now he asks you to imagine. Just imagine that you are done with your education and now you have to find a job. And that is why you travel to some other land or a strange land. You have set off for a strange land, and remember, you don't have money with you. You don't have enough money with you. You don't have any relatives there. You don't have any friends there. In other words, you don't have any familiar faces there. But you go there because that is, you have to go there. There is no other way, because you have to earn money. You have to get settled in your life, and that is why you go to a far place to earn your livelihood. Remember, what are the drawbacks? You don't have money, you don't have relatives there, you don't have any known faces there. Moreover, you don't even know the local language there. You can speak only English and your mother tongue. But people or inhabitants of that place, they do not know either of these language that you know. So now my question is, how do you survive in such kind of place? How do you manage such kind of situation or circumstance? Because you may face lots of problems if you have these drawbacks. Because you don't have certain plans. You don't know where you have to go, what you have to do. You just wander here and there in that city. Anybody can, mislead you, anybody can cheat on you easily because you're a new or you're a strange person to that place. You don't know anything about that place. So how do you survive in that circumstances, or how do you survive in such situations? That is the question that he asks you. Because he had been in the same situation a few years back. When he went or when he entered that big city, he did not have enough money in his hand. He knew only English and Hindustani. The languages that he knew, the narrator knew, that is English and Hindustani. But unfortunately, the inhabitants of the big city, they did not know these two languages. So it became very difficult for the narrator to survive there or to communicate with those people. I mean, we face such kind of problems when we go to strange places, right? And further, here Vaikom Muhammad Bashir, he says, or the narrator says, that all these drawbacks, as I said earlier, that can land you in so many bad situations. What do you mean by land you? Land you is that may place you. So that may land you in so many predicaments. Predicament is unfortunate situations. So when you go somewhere without plans or certain plans, then definitely that can land you, that can place you in some unfortunate predicaments or risks. You may also face some risks. So these are the problems you may face when you start your journey into an unknown world. So the same thing happened to the narrator. So finally, you go there, and after some time you realize that you're caught in some dangerous situation and you have nobody there to help you. So what do you do there? You lose all your hopes because nobody would come to rescue, because you are in a strange land, you are in an alien land. So finally you decide that, or finally you come to the conclusion that nobody is going to save you and your life is going to end there itself. When you come to that conclusion, at the same moment somebody comes, completely a strange man. He comes and saves you from that or unfortunate situation. You never have imagined that he would come and rescue you, but somebody comes there and he helps you. How do you feel? We start looking at that person as if he is a god, right? We start thinking about them even after so many years. Why did he come there? Who was he? Why did he help me? So these questions will hit our minds again and again even after so many years. So here the narrator, the same thing. A few years back, he was also in the same situation. He was caught in some dangerous situation. When he thought that his life was going to end there itself, completely a strange man, he came there and he helped him. He saved the day. Save the day is to save somebody from some problem or some dangerous situation. So he was saved by completely a strange man. Completely a strange man, and he says even after a few years you think about that man, and that is why the narrator was thinking about this man even after so many years since the incident took place. So here in this lesson, this strange man, he plays a great role. He changes the complete story at the end. It's quite interesting. Let's look at that later. And before that, as I said, I hope you have imagined yourself in that situation. So you have to be ready to face such kind of situations. Who knows, you may fall into such kind of trap in an unknown place in the future, but because we have to be ready to face everything, because life is unpredictable. Now he says that the narrator is going to account, or he is going to narrate his own experience that he had in that big city. And before that, he gives a definition, or not exactly definition, but he speaks about human beings or the nature of human beings. He says that it is very difficult to understand human beings or the nature of human beings because he has some vague notions about human beings. So the meaning of vague notions, the narrator says, understanding human beings is not so easy, and he has some vague notions about human beings. Vague is unclear notion. Notion is view or opinion. You can also take it as opinion or view. So he has some vague or unclear view about human beings. He couldn't understand people so easily. Especially he realized that after that incident. He realized that people are difficult to be understood. It's not that easy to analyze people because we are living among different kinds of or various kinds of people. There are various kinds of people around us, and understanding and analyzing each and every one of them is not so easy. So that is why he says there are good men around us. There are good men around us, and there are also thieves. There are also bad people or evil people around us. This world is not only made up of good people, made of good people. There are also bad people too. But when do we realize this? So he defines that very beautifully in his own way. So he says there are also good and good people and thieves around me, and there are also some people who are suffering from some infectious diseases. There are lots of people who are suffering from some kind of diseases which cannot be cured, and some infectious, contagious diseases. At the same time, there are also people who are mad. So we are living among all these kinds of people. Good, thieves, mad, and also the people who are suffering from infectious or different kinds of diseases which cannot be cured. So he says, narrator says, we have to live very carefully. So one must live carefully among all these people. So there are different kinds of madness, you know that. So some have madness of greed or money. There are different madness. So this madness can also ruin your life too, who knows. And that is why he says, when we live among all these people, we have to be very careful. And at the end, he states one line, which is beautifully said by the narrator, where he says, the world has more evil So this can be asked for 1 mark. This is important. So narrator opines, or according to him, he says, the world has more evil than good. Look at that. Because in earlier stage, before we are introduced or exposed to the harsh realities of life, we all think that everything is good, everybody is good. The world is completely good. The world is enveloped by only good. We think that, but we realize this. What? The world has more evil than good. We realize this only after we get hurt. So when do we realize this? Only after we get hurt. This is so true. He realized that when he experienced an incident in his life, and then he realized that world has more bad or evil than good. And as I said, once you get hurt, or once you get cheated on, then you realize that there are also bad people in this world. So when you get hurt, or it could be an incident that changes your notion about human beings or about good and bad people. So this is what you have to keep in your mind if it is asked for 1 mark. So this is what he says about human beings and about people. And now let's get into the story. I'm going to take you into the big city. Let's see what happened there. So what was that incident that changed the notion or the perception of the narrator about human beings and about the society? What happened there? So let's get into that big city. So that big city, the narrator went to a big city which was in the valley of a mountain. So the big city that was situated in the valley of a mountain. So valley is what we call in Kannada Kanive. So he went to that city which was situated in the valley of a mountain, and this city was far from his hometown. So how far? It was 1500 miles away from his hometown. So this city, big city, it was 1500 miles away from his hometown. He had to go there because, as I said earlier, he had responsibility on his shoulder and he had to struggle for his livelihood. So that is why he went there for the purpose of his profession or job. So now he says, how were the people there? Were they too good? No, definitely not. So there he realized that the city which was there, 1500 miles away from his home, the people of that city, they were cruel. They did not know the meaning of kindness, love, compassion or mercy. They were merciless people. The people or the inhabitants. What do you mean by inhabitants? Inhabitants, that the people who belong to that city, were residing in that city. Those people, they had never been known to the quality of mercy. They were not known to again, this is important, remember this. They had never been known to the quality of mercy. They were merciless people, they were cruel, they did not have humanity. Remember that. They were just like animals. They would do anything to gain money. So that is the only thing that they gave importance in their life, and that is money. So now, what were the day-to-day activities of that big city or the people there? Day-to-day activities of those inhabitants. So now what are our day-to-day activities? We go to college, we go to school, we go to temple, we do our day-to-day activities, we go to town to get our works done. These are our day-to-day activities or the occurrences in our cities, right? But what is the usual occurrences of that city, or what was common there? That was murder. Look at this. Murder and then pickpocketing, and robbery. These are the daily occurrences of that big city. Just imagine the situation of our narrator, who was very innocent, who was very honest. But unfortunately, he landed himself in such kind of city where there is no place for humanity or honesty. So these were the daily occurrences. These were common there. It used to happen each and every day in that big city. That was murder, pickpocketing and robbery. Look at their work. But ironically, traditionally people were soldiers. Maybe their ancestors, they might have joined army. So they were supposed to, safeguard their country or their people. But what they were doing there. So murder, pickpocketing and robbery was the daily occurrences or usual occurrences of that big city. And some people, they went to far places to work as, watchmen, and some worked as watchmen in big industries or in some companies, and some worked as money lenders. What do you mean by money lenders? Lending money on interest. So working as money lenders on interest. And some went to some other, as I said, far places, and they worked as watchmen in some mills and in some, big industries or commercial industries or factories. So in this way, they used to work. But if you look at their profession, it also suggests that they are not well educated people. But one thing was highly valued by them, and that was money. Money was highly valued by them. So what was highly valued by them? You may get question for 1 mark. What was highly valued by them? Money was highly valued by those people. They would do anything. They were ready to do anything to earn that money. It doesn't matter to them whether they follow the right path or wrong path. But what mattered to them? That was money. Money was highly valued by them. They gave importance only to money. And to get money, they would go to any level. They would stoop to any level. Even they were ready to commit a murder to get money. So they were highly consumed by money, and that is why he says they had never been known to the quality of mercy. Okay, so this is how the people were described by the narrator of the big city. So I hope you understood about the place as well as the people. So if you get a question on the description of the place, then you have to refer this paragraph. This is very easy to remember. So it was a big city which was situated in the valley of a mountain, and their day-to-day activities or the daily occurrences of that big city was murder, pickpocketing and robbery. And some of them worked as watchmen in some big cities, in some commercial industries or in some factories, and some worked as money lenders on interest. Money lenders, you can also say in Kannada in Baddi Vyavahara. So they worked or they lent money on interest. So these were the description of the place as well as the nature of people of that big city. And what was highly valued by them? That was money. They were even ready to commit murder to get that money. So now let's look at the writers or the narrator's situation there. Why did he go there, or where did he stay there? Let's look at that. So the narrator, he was carried on a profession. So why did he go there? He went there for the purpose of his profession. He had a profession there, he had a job there, and that is why he went there. As I said, for his, he was struggling very hard, he was working very hard for his livelihood. So that is why he went there. And where did he stay there? He stayed there in a small dingy room. He stayed there in a very small and dingy room. What do you mean by dingy? The room did not even have the sufficient light inside it. So you can say that dark. There was not enough light inside it. So he stayed in that very small dingy room, and that was also on a dirty street. Just imagine his situation. Very miserable condition. So he stayed there on a dirty street. Not very clean. It was not so clean, but still he did not have any other option. He had to live there. And moreover, as I said, he was not financially strong, and he was working very hard even to gain or earn 1 anna. So that is why he stayed there in a very small and dingy room that was also on a dirty street. So what was his profession? What was he doing for his livelihood? So he was working as a English teacher. So the profession of the narrator, remember, these are all important and it can be asked for 1 mark question. So he was working there as a English teacher. So whom did he teach? Who were his students? So he used to teach some migrant laborers. So he was teaching English to some migrant laborers. So what do you mean by migrant laborers? Laborers, workers. So there were some workers who used to work there, being migrated from some other land or place. So the laborers who works or migrate from one place to another place in search of job or for the purpose of job, and those were called as migrant laborers. And this narrator, he was teaching them English. Especially he was teaching them to write address in English. What was the narrator teaching to migrant laborers? So he was teaching them to write address in English. Remember, the profession of the narrator or the writer, he was an English teacher, and he was teaching to some migrant laborers. And what was he teaching? He was teaching to write address in English. And what was the timings of his school? He was not teaching them in a daytime. Why? Because they were laborers. They were unable to attend his class in the daytime since they were working. So they used to get time in the night, and that is why they used to attend his class only in the night. So he used to teach them from 9:30 to 11 p.m. Look at that. Even one should appreciate these laborers for their interest towards learning, right? So they used to learn from 9:30 to 11 p.m. or from 9:30 till 11 p.m. The narrator used to teach them write address in English. So that was the job or the profession of writer. I hope I made my points clear. I hope you understood this. So now, so why was teaching address in English, or why was this considered as the grade education there? So there, writing address in English was considered high education there or grade education there. If anybody knew how to write address in English, they were considered as well educated people. So that is why writing address in English, that was considered as the great education there. Again, this is important. This is considered as the great education there. Because he says, the narrator says, in those days in post offices, there were some people who were appointed just to write address in English, and they were paid anything between 1 anna to 4 annas. So those who did not know how to write address in English, then they had to pay these people who were there in post office, who were appointed to write address in English, and they had to pay 1 to 4 annas. Again, it was expenditure. It was an expenditure for those people. So that is why the narrator thought that, so that he would teach. Narrator thought that he would teach people, or these laborers, migrant laborers, to write address in English, so that they can save some money. At the same time, he would also earn some money. To save money, he found this way. This was his way of saving or earning money. He taught them writing address in English, and that was from 9:30 to till 11 p.m. So now, what was he doing in a daytime? So what was the work the narrator doing in a daytime? Because he was teaching them in a night time. So what was he doing in a daytime? He used to sleep whole day till 4 o'clock, 4 p.m. So here the narrator used to sleep whole day till 4 p.m. Why is to sleep? Because he did not have any work in a daytime. Moreover, he wanted to save money of which is spent on breakfast or his morning tea or afternoon meal. Look at the way how he used to save his money. It might have been very difficult for him. So that is why he used to sleep whole day till 4 p.m. so that he can save money which is spent on his morning tea as well as for his noon meal. And used to wake up only at 4 p.m. in the evening. So he used to wake up only at 4 p.m. or 4 in the evening. This was the way how he used to save his money. Look at that. That shows how how much he worked hard there. How difficult life was at that time for the narrator. So this is how he earned his livelihood, and this is how he saved his money. So now let's continue the remaining story in the next class.